I love what you're doing here on the podcast with getting people to be okay being them, be comfortable in their own skin, live as out loud as they can in their own actual way. And I really think for me that's where I can actually experience that joy along with the happiness, that depth. And so I love the stories, and I love the guests, and I love everything that you got going on here.
Are you to live your best audacious life ever? I'm your host, Audley Stephenson. It's always a pleasure to be here with you. And I really do truly appreciate you spending time out of your day to be here with us. And I promise you, you're in for a transformative experience. Now, imagine embarking on a grand adventure equipped with a treasure map that reveals not just the destination, but the best routes on how to get there. Each of us has equipped with our own unique past with peaks and valleys, but the key to uncovering the treasure of our audacious lives lies in how we navigate them. Just like a savvy explorer, we can embrace the ambitiously lazy mindset, learning to work smarter, not harder, by identifying and delegating the 20% of those tasks that drain our energy. By doing so, we can focus on what truly propels us forward. Because remember, everyone has unique strengths and gifts, and leveraging those strengths within our teams creates a powerhouse of productivity. To help us dive deeper into this journey of self-discovery and empowerment, I'm thrilled to welcome our guest today. His name is Trevor Schade. Trevor is a multifaceted entrepreneur and consultant known for his unique blend of analytical prowess and people-oriented approach. With a rich background in Lean and Six Sigma principles, he's transformed businesses and teams by teaching them how to optimize their operations while embracing their individual strengths. Trevor's mission is to help individuals and organizations find their unique paths to success as well as fulfillment. It's a beautiful conversation with lots and lots of insights that I'm certain you'll all enjoy. So let's turn to our chat with Trevor. Hey, Trevor, thank you for joining me here today on the Audacious Living Podcast. I appreciate you making the time to do this, my friend. Thank you.
Thanks, Audley. Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, no, I think it's great to engage in dialogues that can help individuals get to that best audacious place, if you will. And that's what we talk about a lot here on this podcast, and really encouraging individuals to go on their own individual journey. And I think you'd probably agree that each one of us has our own path that we're predetermined to take, that's ours, and that with that path it'll have its own set of challenges and obstacles and pitfalls, but it'll also have its own rewards too. So it's not just bad stuff. I mean, there's good as well. And it's just a matter of us sort of working through the not so fun stuff to get to the other side where the greatness lies. And so that's kind of what we're really looking to focus and really encourage people to do. Each of us have a story, and you have one as well, and true in terms of your own personal journey that's helped you get to the point that you're at now. So maybe as a starting point, I can invite you into the conversation and introduce yourself to our audience. They'll know about the work that you do and what's happened to get you to the point that you're at now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love what you're doing here on the podcast with getting people to be okay being them, be comfortable in their own skin, live as out loud as they can in their own actual way. And I really think for me that's where I can actually experience that joy along with the happiness, that depth. And so I love the stories, and I love the guests, and I love everything that you got going on here. And so yeah, to toss my story into the mix here a bit. I guess I grew up in a very probably relatable to most, quote unquote most. I was a blue collar upbringing. I grew up working on cars and learning that whole world. And I learned the one of the first youngest lessons that I got that I didn't realize until here probably only 3-4 years ago. Mm-hmm. When somebody takes their car to an auto mechanic shop, the mechanic, quote unquote, can't really say, couldn't find a way. Here's your car. There's not really a hand it back. There's a find a way, make a way type mentality and lessons. So I didn't know that was ingrained in me when I was so young. But I went down that path of problem solving and finding a way, and it turned into computer programming, and then it turned into Lean and Six Sigma. So for any listeners that haven't heard of Lean and Six Sigma, it's a running a business efficiently and consistently. Let's call it that. So, consulting, but using big data to do it. And so, super math nerd, looking at data points, finding out how consistently do processes run, and do we need them to, and when's your ROI, and it blended over into the business sector. And growing up around my dad, who ran his own auto mechanic shop and then built a gas station. I mean, I had that entrepreneurial blood and spirit. So I turned into any random little thing I could do. When I was 15, I bought a car and I fixed the transmission and I sold it. And it was like, well, there's kind of the next chapter of my lemonade stand, was now buying and adding value and selling. And so I went down that journey and that road, and I got married young, and I had some kids, and I got into consulting, and I've been writing computer code since grade school, and
Wow.
and all these things kind of blended together into these scrappy businesses. And I never saw the world what was quote unquote norm. I did really well in school, but it wasn't without a tremendous amount of effort, because I didn't learn the way that the box was meant for. I didn't fit. And I had my own view and my own lens and my own thinking. And I could have probably used a little more guidance, like many of us. So I could have maybe learned from others' mistakes, not as many of my own. But, piece by piece, I just kept trying, and I kept learning and working, and building these different entrepreneurial ventures and ideas, and multi-level marketing for 8 years. That I learned. I chalk that up to a win, where I learned so much about business structure and design and sales and brokerage designs, and it's great. But did I was I able to produce anything in the business? Well, no. I really, yeah, I mean, kind of, but did it? If I really got honest about a net P&L, there was not a positive number there. So,
Right.
so anyway, that turned me into doing the business consulting. And then on the side, I decided, I bought and sold a car, and renovated in between. So I was like, why don't I do that with a house?
Right.
And
Right.
reached out to a real estate agent and found a house, and flipped the house. And again, if I really be honest about the net numbers, I bet I made $2,000 to $3,000, and that's not quite enough for the amount of risk. I mean,
Sure.
one more
Yeah.
month of mortgage payments, of utility holding carrying costs, and it wouldn't have been a positive number. So it was good, and I learned it, but I decided to get a real estate license.
Okay.
And now I consult people in real estate wealth creation, and then I step into businesses and I coach culture creation. I built a
Okay.
real estate team of 26 agents.
So
And
have you stepped away from real estate altogether, and that's you're focusing on the teaching piece now? Is that what you're doing?
I honestly, I do both. So
Okay.
I started up, I did the real estate agenting, and that grew into learning, oh, I'm putting in a fourth of the time that most other real estate agents are. And I didn't know that. I was just running. And I had a full-time job when I first started. And in my first 7 months, I sold 27 houses while I was
Oh,
full-time employed. And I didn't know that that wasn't normal. And so what it was is I knew how to scale my systems.
right.
I had Lean and Six Sigma training and teaching. And my sister, when I was 8 years old, she called me ambitiously lazy. She said, "You will outwork anyone so that you don't have to work." And
Right.
I later learned there was, like, smarter, not harder. There was very professional phrases. And I was like, yes, I embody
Right.
all of this. I'm not going to deny an ounce of it. And,
Right.
and
Right.
so, so yeah, the real estate, I grew the team, and I went from 0 agents up to 26 agents in 5 years, and had zero turnover. And anyone that's ever interacted with that real estate community, for someone to not renew their license, or switch teams within a brokerage, or switch brokerages, that is incredibly rare. And again, I really thought about it. What would it take to keep me?
Hmm.
And anything I thought of, I just figured out a way and I implemented. And I thought, well, what if I wanted to run my own team? And I thought, well, let's design it so that someone can run a team within the team. And I just kept finding that way of, if that's what it would take to keep me, well, I don't want to keep my mediocre folks. I
Right.
want my best folks to never leave. And I don't want to retrain. And so then add some outsourcing and automation. And so I used a lot of technology to handle what a lot of folks were hiring employees for. and I used workflows and Zapier and a lot of API type systems,
Yep.
and then I used Fiverr and Upwork to hire freelancers. So that's typically where a lot of my coaching starts with folks, because they go, well, Trevor, I don't know how to design and build all these techie things you're talking about and all this automation. It would save me so much time. And I said, well, then step one is to hire the freelancer that does.
Got
Pay
you.
pay somebody $80 an hour and watch what they can do in 2 hours. And all of a sudden you have 20 hours a week back in your life. Like, that was the best 160 bucks you ever spent in your
Right,
life.
right, right, right,
And
right.
so yes, I am in real estate now. So I have sunsetted that real estate team.
Okay.
I still can buy and sell and do buy and sell with folks,
Hmm.
but through that I got into the investor community and I started flipping more homes. I kept single family rentals, duplexes, fourplexes, and then I started working with large group syndication companies where we'd go buy an $8 million project with 100 units in an apartment, and we'd see that the rent was 700 a month. And if new carpet, new countertops, new paint, stainless steel, and actually increase the value and the true desirability of the thing, well,
Hmm.
people would happily pay 900 a month or 950 a month. Well, you
Sure.
take that times 100 units and your appraisal changes dramatically. And so now we let other investors pool their money into those projects, and they can own real estate completely passively and have operators do this. And then at the same time, I end up with these investors. They usually either run departments or run companies, and they are trying to build a team, and they have their own bread and butter while they're doing the passive investing. And I can come in and be a coach to their systems and their business operations and try to let them run. Honestly, one of my MOs is, how do you get to how do you get to the point that you could, whether you want to or not, how do you get it so that you could run all of your businesses from a beach? And and that's my measuring stick. And if we can get it there, great. If they ever want to, doesn't matter. Everybody can have
Great
their own
goal.
life and their own goals, right? But that
That's a
way it's
great
like,
goal.
nah, now you can live the way you want to live rather than how you feel you're supposed to or
Right,
have to. I mean,
right.
audacious living.
There you go. No, I love um, sort of how you found your way, and I think it's really important that it's underscore it's your way, and it's what works. Every time I talked to her about what works for individuals isn't necessarily the same. The other thing too, I wouldn't say I have an in-depth knowledge of Lean Six Sigma and the
Mhm.
principle. I'm aware of and understand it at the core, the surface level, if you will. But what
Yeah.
I'm hearing from you is that you found a way to sort of combine those principles with your real work in real estate, and that's
Yeah.
kind of what sort of led to your success. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I'll toss another twist. I mean, we talk about outside of the box thinking and unique perspectives. So in the Lean Six Sigma world, I mean, there's lots of data analytics. There's lots of reports. There's
Yeah.
lots of measurement, and I live and breathe it, and I love it. And I jumped this very strange gap because my nature was more people oriented, and my sister runs a Gallup Strengths coaching business, and she and I have talked for hours and hours and hours over Gallup Strengths. And I like a lot of the a lot of the the Myers-Briggs and the
Sure.
quadrant based personality and temperament assessments. And what I like about Gallup Strengths is it's I like the word inspire. And if I can look at somebody's top five gifts, talents, strengths, and I know that they just live and breathe those. They are honestly so good at them that they are terrible at teaching them because they don't know how they do it.
Right. It's natural. Yeah.
Right. If I can get the right people in their own gifts, talents, and strengths roles or lines or lanes, well, then I don't have to use the data to hold people accountable necessarily. I can actually get somebody neurotic, like we've all been in some school project, neurotic about by 11 p.m. you've already accomplished what's due tomorrow, and you just keep plowing till 3
Right.
because you can't let go, and it's 3 a.m. and you're like, well, I thought, well, if I can get people to constantly be inspired and it is their passion and their love, I don't need to top down manage, and I
Yeah.
don't have to exhaust myself doing it. And so, yes, I took that Lean Six Sigma and I did well, let's not design something that we can just get rid of, start there, and then fully automate with machines anything that I can next. outsource to other countries that they're now getting triple wages because of cost of living differences. And that handled, I mean, it's honestly, it's the 80/20 rule. I mean, I'm attacking the 20% of everything that now gives me 80% of my time back. And then what's left, and I need real human talent that's local. Now I can just have them be inspired and they're going to
Yes.
outproduce me in their own lane. And I can just let go and step back.
I gotta tell you, I love the approach. Interesting though, when you talk about outsourcing, which you've clearly done, and all you
Yep.
know what you're talking, what you've described, there's
Yep.
an aspect of this, Trevor, where you've got to let go,
Yeah.
right? You,
Yeah.
if you are, if so, if you've been customarily running your organization, running your business, you're an entrepreneur, you're the founder from the ground up, it was you. And now
Yep.
you're coming and telling people, yeah, let go and let other people take over.
Yep.
That's a bit of a mindset shift for many. It's not
It
an easy
is.
thing to do.
No, and especially with the people that you're talking about, they're the people that have learned if it's gonna be, it's up to me, right? Like they're the ones that dig in deep and grind, and they're the ones that they wear all the hats. And there's a season I think that that's important. And then at some point, it's like, okay, you know it's so in depth that you can teach it and let go. And it's not easy. It's scary. It's a new risk that you're like, am I going to implode this thing that I spent 5, 10 years building by handing it to someone and they're going to devastate it? Hopefully your listeners are hearing these words and they can hear inside of their own head. They're like, that's exactly what I'm thinking. And I guess I would tell everyone that there's a little hope and there's a lot of hope, but I'll tell you there's a little so that they can jump the gap and know that start small. Start small. Let people give people just like children. I have two sons, and I give them the opportunity to succeed, but I also give them the opportunity to fail.
Right.
Either way, it's going to be fine. And I try to, you know, take care of the parameters and how far is someone going to fail if they do. But if someone doesn't hit a home run and they just kind of dribble it and they're like they don't do the reports quite right or they miss a phone call, just have some safety nets built in there. And that's what I help people do is build that comfort. And to prove the principle, I tell everyone start by work with somebody in any country. I tend to lean into the Philippines and India. I've had really good experiences with a lot of organizations there and great people. Um, Start there and have somebody order you yourself flowers. That's it. Because all of a sudden now you're going to learn that you can hire somebody to do a task that's local. They can do it from far away. You are comfortable giving them your credit card and you can watch how smooth and simple that works. You can get a separate credit card that is only the one that they have access to. So
Right.
you know any charges that come through it are on them. You just build in these safety parameters and then all of a sudden you get to watch how free you can actually be.
Hmm. I like the idea of starting small. Because again,
Hmm.
if it's a big issue for you or something, it's not natural. Like again, if you're
Yeah.
naturally,
Yeah.
I'll use the word controlling, and I know
Yeah.
potential negative connotations with that, but let's say you're controlling or you like to have your finger on the pulse of everything,
Yeah.
to let go. It's like
Yeah.
I said before, it's tough. But the idea of starting small, a little something that's really simple to kind of get you
Hmm.
to build up to larger things. Um, did you have trouble or figuring out what pieces to let go, or was that easy for you to identify?
Yeah, so I really was taught and I leaned into the Pareto principle, the 80/20 rule, and I love it, but there was a missing piece to me. So you hear, okay, get rid of the 20% that is costing you 80% of your time. So, fire your bad clients or get rid of the processes that you dread. Um, and or lean into the 20% that produce 80% of the success and results. So that was the principle. And what I had a hard time with was how to identify which bucket something goes in. I'm
Right.
like, is this part of the 80/20? Is this the 20 or is this the 80? And so I started paying attention to myself and learning what things made me angry. And that was a good indicator
Okay.
that anything that could get me emotional in a negative way was probably part of the 20% that I needed to get to somebody else. So
Mm,
if there was something that I hated doing and I was just dreading and I drug my feet kicking and screaming, it didn't mean I was ready to outsource it right away, but it did mean that it's probably time to start designing how. And then the other one was anything that would replicate me. So in sales, if I could get my knowledge to another person and they could go out and I could get a cut of what they do by them using my designs, my systems, and my methods, well, all of a sudden there was two of me out there, or at least 1.25 of me out there. Well,
Right.
then I go get three more, and look at that. I am quite literally doubled in the world. So
Right.
those were the things that I really keyed in on and focused on how do I figure out what bucket to put them in. And for me, I don't like administrative. I'm not, I like dynamic. I like interacting. And
Sure.
one of the mental gaps that was incredibly difficult for me to jump was some people love administrative. They love consistency. They love the
Sure.
perfection. They love the safety of knowing what they're going to do that day. And I couldn't fathom somebody actually enjoying this and wanting to do this and being different. But then I realized if I was to put them on a stage with 500 people in a room, they would panic. And that's when I come alive and
Right.
I feel like I'm home.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
as I started
And they're looking
noticing,
at you going, oh, what's wrong with you, right?
right, they're like, how could you enjoy that? I'd rather like punch myself in the face, right? Like they want nothing to do with that. So that was really, really challenging for me. And I've had to repeat that lesson over and over for years to try and remember everybody has their own passion. They have their
Yeah.
own safe zone. They have their own space that they love to be in. And I, to have somebody that is a pillar of a company that you can really build a foundation with and on, that really started showing me that there are some vital, vital pieces to any endeavor and any organization that I didn't necessarily have. You don't want the wild child going on podcasts and
Sure.
public speaking and painting the vision and swinging his arms around the air in the middle of all these business meetings. You needed somebody that goes, okay, 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 let's do some risk assessment. And um, so yes, learned to really remind myself regularly that everybody enjoys a different
Yeah.
lane, truly.
Yeah, I really like the way you've encapsulated that in your life and really said, okay, this is not what I like, but I know someone that can, and bringing those
Yeah,
people that interest and expertise, and it's a very good way you put it. Like they get excited about this stuff. So,
yeah,
and anything that we do, we get excited about. We're probably going to do it really well because we're
yeah.
excited about. We love it, it's our passion. So
That
really, you tap into that, which I think is a beautiful, beautiful
that's
thing.
right. That's right.
I
Yep.
also
Yeah. And
like the. Oh, go ahead, go ahead.
oh, that's all right. I was going to say, from my background, I could see where, it sounds like I had good training and I had good background and I had all this and I had this as leg up and I can probably help some folks out too, letting them know if they've hit some dire straits, if they've hit some rough patches, I think that's just part of all of our journey.
Sure, sure.
It's when I had a total life implosion in my early 30s, and I ended up having, my fiveplex got bed bugs, and my consulting career took a mad halt with the ending of a contract in November, which meant here in Nebraska we had winter, which meant I started carrying the utilities of all 5 units in the winter with heating bills and having to let the tenants out, so zero income. And now I had to do the chemical and heat renovations, and I had to try to backfill this. Well, my income dropped, disappeared. I no longer had a job. And so then I went 100% commission, and I'm the first time self-employed. I'm going through a divorce at the exact same time. My closest
Mhm.
grandparent goes into hospice and passes away. And it's the
Mhm.
first time I've experienced death. And my system is under such strain and stress because I was also that some people will understand this. This is a bit of a softer note. I was in a very unhealthy codependent relationship. So my marriage was two people that got together and relinquished their identities as healthy individuals because we never really were adult healthy individuals. And here we were trying to do the everything with and for each other, and we didn't have that alignment right where we were just healthy, standalone, and together. So when I started going through a divorce, my kids were too young to care about dad. My my ex-wife, uh, we were parting ways. And so here I was with no hobbies, no friends, no identity. My job is gone. I had no career, and my system is under such strain and stress and pressure that I had a chiropractic adjustment, and my body wouldn't let my artery stretch a normal distance, and it snapped an artery in the left side of my
Wow.
neck, and I had a TIA stroke right there in the chiropractor's office. And the entire right side of my body shuts off, and I
Wow.
wonder if I'm ever getting it back.
Wow.
So
It's a lot.
it all happened at once. It was an 18-month burst, and I've had a couple others, and I can rewind the tape. I was telling someone this week that, I can guide people through when your back's up against a wall. What are some tools, some paths and methods that you can start doing, and you can get out of that inch by inch? And there's about three times in my life that I can't answer that question. I don't know how I got out of it. I had some good teaching and training, but if I rewind the memories in my head, I'm like, I don't know how from that February to that March I paid the bills. I have no clue. And so if someone is up against a wall with a business change, a life change, a health change, a death change, everything, I, it's it's a part of it, I think. And now here I am able to crushingly empathize with
Gotcha.
anyone that's in any one of those areas. And I wouldn't wish anyone to go through any of it, of course, but I'm
Yeah.
just for
Especially
anyone
all at the
that,
same time, right?
oh man, not at the same time. My goodness, that was unreal. But, here we are years later and probably close to a decade later. And I can't, by no means have I arrived, but have I been able to learn a ton more about me, know what I actually enjoy doing, start helping other people do it, build some businesses and careers, like you said before, my way,
Mhm.
definitely. And so there is a path, even if someone's at that extreme ultra low or didn't grow up with the right education or the right influences. Yep, that's it. You dig in, you latch on, you find a way, you make a way, kind of like I was taught when I was in the auto mechanic
Yeah.
shop back in the day.
That problem solver mentality comes to the forefront, and
Yep,
and not to say that you go through challenging or difficult times, we won't get down, because we will. It's just
absolutely.
naturally going to happen. However, it's really what you do when you're down. Do you stay there and wallow and go, oh my gosh, what was me? Or you
Yep.
figure out, okay, now it's time to get out. And I think too, that time to get out thing, where I'll always extend grace to people, is however
Hmm.
long it takes you, however much time you
Yeah.
need, take
Yeah.
it,
I
because we're
love
not
that.
all going to be the same. And I remember a friend, she losing her father, and she mourned him for years. And I mean, mourned in the sense that, like, it impacted her daily living for a
Yeah.
long time. And as much as you want people to come on, get out of that funk, and come on,
Yeah.
it's their journey, right? It's their
Yep.
healing, and so you've just got
Yep.
to respect that.
Yep. I agree with that completely. I mean, it's no different than and I think it's funny that we as a culture, we don't put this together instantly, but when we hear it, it's like, oh, well, that makes sense. If someone blows an ACL in their knee,
Hmm.
everybody heals at a different speed. Everybody, I mean, we can all accept that very comfortably and easily.
Yes,
Some
yes,
people
yes.
they have a fast healing process. Some people they can endure a little more pain, so they don't use the pain meds as much. Other people need a little more pain meds. Some people need to, keep it in a cast longer. There's a lot of variance here because we're all different. And when it comes to that mental pain and that heart pain and that spirit pain and that trauma, it's no different. It's still
Mhm.
just take the time to do the healing that'll keep the wound together, get a little calendar time under the belt, and then decide what are you capable of doing? Are you capable of going to your job again? Great. Let's start there.
Yeah. Yeah, no, no. I think that's a really good point. I'm glad you raised that.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, one of the things I absolutely sort of love about your story, Trevor, is the fact that so one of my principles I truly believe is that we're a collection of our experiences, right?
Yeah.
Every single thing that we've done has brought us to the point that we are right now. And
Yeah.
sometimes you'll do things that in the moment don't make sense, but you do it anyways, right?
Yeah.
Or whatever it is, it could be
Yeah.
anything. You do it anyways. It doesn't make sense, and then down the road, like, oh wow, it's a good thing I did that, because this is what
Yeah.
led me here, led me there. And so I'm certainly hearing a lot of different experiences in your background, and just when you sort of talk about your journey.
Yeah.
Um, Did you find there was some of that little reflection period, look back and go, my gosh, this worked here, this worked there? That
Mhm.
did you find that was your
Yeah.
experience?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I another principle I was taught growing up was act as if, or act your way into a new way of thinking, or um, take action and you'll feel like it. And it had to do with, as a kid, not wanting to go to sports practices and go to football practice and go to, I'm like, I want to play my Nintendo is 1988, I love my Nintendo. And excuse me. And and so I got to learn. My dad was pretty good about teaching me, yeah, you do it anyway. Just take the actions that don't make sense, go to practice, and let's talk about it afterward. And 100% of the time, maybe with one exception in 15 years or something, I came out of it going, yeah, I didn't want to go, but I just had an attitude. But really, we all go to the practice, we get done. Anytime somebody goes to the gym, they get done and they're glad they went. They feel good that they did. And I think life and business is that same way where, I didn't necessarily want to take some of the harder roads and harder paths and make the all of the choices that I did. But in the moment, if I knew that it was the right path and if it was the right way of operating, if it was a way of operating with integrity and it was a way of operating with kindness, um, even if financially it didn't make sense, well, I looked 3, 4 years later, and I looked at what my reputation had become.
Right.
And all of a sudden, I had all these referrals and business and people that would trust me because of the stack of those little decisions, one after another.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I definitely have had that play out over and over and over. I mean, honestly, my a, a whole multitude of careers and jobs and opportunities I've had so little to do with my expertise, my knowledge, my degrees, which, by the way, I don't have, and my all of those hard facts. It had more to do with somebody either being inspired by me, or somebody believing in me, or somebody seeing the value that I could create in their life or their organization, and it had to do with somebody doing me a favor, bending a rule, giving me a shot, giving me a chance. It almost always has always come through some other person that has leaned into me more than any concrete fact or accolade that I could showcase.
Mm, mm. The power of help and support from others, right? That's one of the,
Unreal. Unreal. It is the most powerful thing. If you can lock arms and get in networks and actually go provide services and value and goodness into, and I'm not saying discount your own family and your own time. I'm all about knowing your worth and charging for it and knowing what you're
sure.
providing. That's great. But a lot of the times I'll just take care of some folks and help someone out, or relate and empathize and help a business and lean in, or figure out a way to actually verbalize partnering up. And maybe we're not going to charge each other, but we can collaborate, and that has really created a lot of ripples.
Got you. No, I remember, once upon a time, uh, I guess I adopted this belief. I don't know where it came from. I don't know if it sounded like a cool thing and I wanted it to be mine or what it was, but
Yeah.
I adopted this belief that I was a self-made man.
Oh
And
yeah.
everything I did was just me and me alone.
Yeah.
And I made myself and I got here myself and it's all me. Maybe it was my
Yep.
ego. I don't know where it came from.
Yeah.
And just one day, I don't know, kind of light kind of hit, and I started to think about sort of my life, and when I looked at sort of, like sort of major accomplishments or milestones or great things that happened,
Hmm.
um, it's kind of some of the things that you talked about, right? Like people
Yeah.
did me a favor, they took a chance on me, they poured into
Yep.
me, they said I had a great attitude, encouraged me, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And it's when I started to shed that belief because I recognized that I didn't get here by myself. Like
That's right.
every major success in my life came as a result of something help, some encouragement, a word
Yeah.
from other people. So when you talk about that,
Yeah.
that resonates with me big time because it's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I think something that you and I probably, it sounds very similar. We are calling a status quo, and what we're calling already baked in is we do work hard and we do have consistency. And so that I won't discount that, because you won't get the attention of others if you're up and down and up and down and up and
Yep.
down. And if you aren't bringing goodness into somebody else's life or putting yourself in their shoes and thinking, what are their bosses holding them accountable to? And understanding how do you actually help their life and help their world. So there is a hard work part of it for sure,
Sure. Yeah.
but working hard, yeah, and working smart by working and appealing to other people and actually helping them. I'm like, that's the bigger part of the equation for sure.
Mm-hmm. Trevor, if you could look back at your journey and sort of value where you've come, and or maybe not even value, but identify sort of the most important lesson that's resonated with you. Maybe you could share with listeners, or maybe even aspiring real estate investors or entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
What would that lesson be?
Yeah. Yeah. I teach my kids to be comfortable in their own skin. I think that's what I would really push someone to take the years that it'll take to define that. But if someone can actually get comfortable in their own skin and actually understand what that means, you don't have an emotional reaction to other people or to situations. You don't have an ego response. You are actually just good with who you are and start there. And then you can learn skills on top of your nature and your comfort in your space. And you can stretch your brain by learning other people's views and backgrounds and perspectives.
Hmm.
But I think the core starting point to me is to at least start being aware of and paying attention to and assessing who are you when you are at your calmest, your simplest, the at home. When if someone's distracting themselves with TV and phone and things like that all the time because they don't want to be in the room with just themselves, that's a good start. Why don't you go sit in a nice dark room with just yourself and your own thoughts and let it hit you? I was there. I can say this because I remember doing
Right.
this, and I know that that is not an easy task. And I'd say if you start there, you're going to start unraveling what you're happy doing and being in this life. And then what do you want to create for your family, for your business, for yourself? And, that sounds a little kumbaya softy, but I'm like, you're talking to a data nerd, and that's still the truth. Is to get to that point. I think that's going to put a ceiling on people if they don't figure out who are you at your core and what do you actually want to see unfold in your life.
Mm. I love it. I love that's a great question to ask. A fabulous question to ask, in fact. For those who are, maybe just starting out on their journey or looking to scale up, and I
Yeah.
know that's something that you teach and talk a lot about. What's one actionable step that that people could
Yeah.
could take today?
Yeah, definitely. I think, let's if we stick to the business side of it and scaling up, like you said, and all of that. Um, Michael Jordan had a coach.
Okay.
Still, always his entire career, he never outgrew a coach. Somebody said that to me once, and it really hit me. I was like, and I think I'm going to outgrow a coach? Really?
Right.
I think I don't
Right.
need a coach? You're
Right.
kidding. So I don't necessarily care in what capacity somebody has a coach. I, in fact, am very difficult to sign on to one coach for it all. I just don't do that.
Mm.
It took me 9 years to find a CPA that I could let go and I could actually hand it to him and go, you can do your job better than I can do your job. And each piece, I found a mentor and a coach in that. And so, actionable item, I would say identify one area that you want forward, you want grown, you want next leveled. And in that one area, who's somebody that does that thing well? Maybe if it's in outsourcing and automation, find somebody that's really good at that. Maybe don't take marriage advice from them unless they then prove that they're good at that too, right? Like I would assess it individually. So that's the one thing is identify the one area in which you're like, this has got to go, this has got to give, this has got to be better, this has been holding me back, and then find that one person that will take the time to teach you. And I don't care what they charge. I tell people in real estate all the time, if I help and guide somebody through a flip and they have to pay me $5,000 and they're going to make $30,000 on flipping a single family home,
Right.
I guide and teach them, and they get to keep 25,000. Does it really matter that they paid me 5,000? You know, it doesn't. And so then take that times anything that somebody's helping you do. If somebody will cost you your earnable possibility hourly rate to the tune of 3 hours, all stacked up and expensive,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
then they save you 20 hours a week. I like we're not even talking about a number here. That's like
Yeah,
send it. So
right.
that's the actionable item I would tell somebody to say.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Trevor, this has certainly been an incredible dialogue. I appreciate the insights and the idea of being an ambitious, lazy person is something I'm sure will get a lot of people excited. So thank you for that. For
Yeah.
listeners that want to connect with you directly and learn more about your work, where could we send them?
Yeah, trevorshade.com. And that connects to the whole consulting world, the real estate world, the investment world, anything and everything. I've got all my contact info. I got socials galore, and we even run a marketing company that posts daily, so people can get all kinds of things off any one of my socials, and I'm constantly sharing anything I can.
It's amazing. It's amazing. We'll make sure that the appropriate contact details are in the show notes below. Again,
Perfect.
Trevor, thank you for the time. This has been awesome. I really appreciate kind of the insights and the learnings that you're willing to share, which is such a beautiful part of this journey, right? We go through our life and we pick up, and we gather, and we amass, and we
Yep.
share and learn we share learnings with other people to help them get better in their own lives. So I think it's just an amazing thing. So kudos to you for doing so, and thank you again for being a guest on the Audacious Living Podcast.
Thanks, Ollie. Appreciate it.
Back we are in a podcast. In our conversation today, Trevor shared his insights on the importance of starting small when learning to delegate. He emphasized that by tackling manageable tasks, we can build confidence and gradually let go of the reins. One of the main points from our discussion is the idea that every successful leader has a coach or a mentor. That's a really, really powerful point that Trevor made. And his analogy of hiring a freelancer to handle his small tasks resonates deeply. It's about investing in your growth and reclaiming your time. What I personally loved about this interview is Trevor's authentic approach to problem solving. His ability to fuse data-driven strategy with a deep understanding of human dynamics is really truly inspiring. You can hear you can hear the passion in his voice without question, as he encourages listeners to embrace their strengths and delegate effectively. Now, if you're interested in connecting with Trevor directly, be sure to check out the show notes for the contact details. He also offers a wide range of resources and special offers to help you on your journey to audacious living. As we wrap up this episode, I want to thank you once again for joining us on this journey. And remember, the treasure of your audacious life is waiting to be uncovered. And with each step you take, you're drawing closer to it. If you've enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to like, follow, subscribe, or share this podcast for those who you believe would benefit from it. If you haven't done so already, of course. Your support helps us grow and reach even more listeners seeking to live their best audacious lives. Just like our conversation today highlighted the importance of working smarter, embracing unique strengths of those around us can lead to extraordinary outcomes. So go forth, be ambitiously lazy, delegate wisely, and continue your adventure towards living audaciously. Until next time, take care of yourself, stay safe, be kind, show love to one another, and be audacious.